Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. This is one press conference and this is one group. We just have some people over here so you can see the sign, but I wanted to make it clear that they are with us. And we're out here today, and I'm joined by some of my great colleagues in government and my great colleagues in advocacy and in public service in the interest of the homeowners of the state of New York. We're joined by homeowner Gail Fortunato, who is going to share her own personal experience with us. My good friend, Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano, who's been a partner with us in so many of these efforts. Assemblyman Chuck Levine, Assemblyman David McDonough, Assemblyman Michael Monsanto, and Assemblyman Joseph Saladino. We also have members of the county legislature and other local officials who have been working with us very closely on this project. I especially want to acknowledge the presiding officer of the Nassau County Legislature, Norma Gonzalez. Many of our partners are here today in what we call the HOP network, the Homeowner Protection Program. And the work we're here to do today is an extension of the work that began in 2012 when my office started to receive cash and other benefits from big banks that had contributed to the collapse of the American economy in 2008. I chair a working group nationally that was going to get relief for homeowners and communities hurt by the crash. And we've been doing that, and we have learned a lot since then. And the program we're announcing today is really one more step in the process of ensuring that every New York homeowner gets the help that they deserve. Our partners, Empire Justice Center and the Center for New York City Neighborhoods, have put together a program that is going to be a great addition to our existing network of activities. It's very important to understand that as of the middle of 2012, legal services and housing counseling agencies in New York were going out of business. They had run out of money, and it was only because of the resources that we got the banks to put up after our investigation that they were rescued. We've put up $100 million so far for legal services and housing counseling around the state of New York. We set up innovative programs, the MAP program, so that housing counselors could provide limited amounts of funds, small loans to people to help them qualify for mortgage modifications. We've really been as creative as we can be. But nearly a decade after the Great Recession struck, New Yorkers are still reeling from the causes of that recession, especially here on Long Island. Long Island was hit harder than any other part of the state, and the recovery has been slower. Foreclosures keep coming. Wages are stagnating, and to this day, New Yorkers, and particularly people on Long Island, are still falling behind. When you are faced with the prospect of losing your home, understandably, you're frightened, you're desperate, and people can fall for tricks of all sorts of scammers who prey on those who are frightened and desperate. We have a HOP network that's available. It is easy to find. We have more than 90 legal services and counseling agencies across the state of New York. We have helped so far more than 40,000 New York families through this network that provides work free of charge. Nonetheless, it has become apparent to us that scammers are flourishing in this environment of fear and this environment of uncertainty. We have been flooded with troubling stories of scammers taking advantage of folks, stoking the crisis, extraordinarily aggressive in many cases. They promise distressed homeowners a way out of their problems. Of course, they require some small amount of money up front, which then becomes a little more, then they need a little more, and the next thing you know, you're back where you started, but you don't have the cash. So victims who find themselves deeper in the hole have to know that the same folks that were available for them to begin with are available for them to help them figure out scams and get redress from those who would scam them. And that's where the HOP network and our partners, both in government and in legal services and housing counseling come into effect. So the problem is enormous. The problem is growing worse. In New York, on average, scammers take more than $4,100 each from each homeowner they deceive. That's $900 higher than the national average. And the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights has gathered up statistics that paint a very sobering picture. Of all New York homeowners in foreclosure or at the risk of foreclosure, 35% are on Long Island. Think about that. 35% of all of those facing foreclosure in the state of New York are on Long Island, and that's why we're here today to launch the next step in our multifaceted program to keep people in their homes and make sure they get the relief they deserve. Rescue scams come in many forms, but the one quality they have in common is that they prey on people's hope. They prey on people's desperation. They take people who are the victims of an economic crash. They take victims and they re-victimize them. And there's really nothing lower than that. So it's important to note that foreclosures hurt more than just the people being foreclosed on. I have many allies with me here today who are working with me to pass zombie legislation in Albany to see that so-called zombie properties that are vacant because they've been abandoned by the homeowners and the banks haven't taken title, are maintained by the banks pending the outcome of the foreclosure proceeding. And excellent reporting by Newsday has shown that Long Island communities have been forced to spend, local governments forced to spend more than $3 million in the last year or so to maintain these zombie properties. So that's something that we're working on. We're working on getting people loans, getting people their mortgages rewritten. The banks are coming to the table, cooperating better than they have before, but we realized that there was a hole in our bucket, and the hole was the hole that was created by scammers. There were too many people who never made it to the legitimate programs because they were being tricked. So let me give you a personal example. I was riding in my car a year or so ago, and I heard on the radio, all of the state attorneys general have solved your mortgage problems. They have settled with the big banks. Your mortgage may have already been written down. Call the Litwin law firm and find out what they've done for you. And I said, what they've done for you? That's me. What have I done for you? So I called up the number of the Litwin law firm, and I'm pleased to say that I called them, I sued them, and they are now out of business. But you can't just rely on your public officials driving around in the car monitoring the radio for scams. So we decided to do this more systematically. Again, the help doesn't come. The scams vary from type to type, but what they have in common is they take advantage of people in desperate circumstances. Please contact your HOP network. You can go to the OAG website. You can go online and just Google HOP, H-O-P-P. We've had tens of thousands of families come through already. There's no reason anyone in Nassau or Suffolk County should avail themselves of a scammer instead of going to the network that we have available. You don't just lose money when you get caught up with a scam, you lose time, and it makes it harder for you to modify your mortgage. So out of the 60 billion plus we've already recovered from the banks, and there are more banks to come, ladies and gentlemen, we're not done yet. We have provided some money from the state, some money for local governments, but in some respects the most creative work we've done is working with other states to provide a menu of soft relief. Banks have agreed to write down loans. They've agreed to simplify the paperwork. They have agreed to help anyone who will get to them. Today, we take a critical step in our ongoing program to rescue communities and rescue people hurt by the crash. And that is to follow up on our work creating a web-based app, agscamhelp.com, which is an unprecedented use of technology that makes New York families safe from foreclosure. You can access AG Scam Help on your desktop computer or on your smartphone. It tells you right off the bat whether or not you can trust the people who are advertising to you. Our app helps you to see if a mortgage assistance company is registered with any government agency and government approved. Just type the company's name into the search box. It'll tell you if it's been vetted by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development or by the State Attorney General's office, and give you the first clue, because if someone is not vetted by either one of those, you should not do business with them. The app also helps you find free, excellent mortgage assistance providers near you. Like one of the almost 90 counseling and legal service agencies statewide that are funded from our homeowner protection program is within easy access of people in Long Island, in New York City, and in the northern suburbs. And finally, if you think you've been scammed or you're suspicious of the potential scammer, report that on the apps too. My office follows up on every one of these complaints. And ladies and gentlemen, our goal in all of this, I want to make clear, is not just catching and embarrassing more scammers. We will catch bad guys as we have to. The goal is to change the system so there's no more bad guys to catch. We want to change the system to end this wave of mortgage fraud and mortgage rescue fraud. You can learn the telltale signs of a scam on our app. It works in concert with other efforts from our office. But ladies and gentlemen, we have the most unprecedented network of housing, counseling, and legal services in the history of the state of New York in our HOP network. We have great anchor partners in the Center for New York City Neighborhoods and the Empire Justice System who are really launching this new ad campaign. And of course, very often we need your help, because sometimes the people who need the help the most are the hardest to reach. But that's why we're here today. We're launching an advertising campaign that our partners in the HOP network have put together to alert the most vulnerable homeowners that help us here. And you can see, don't get scammed. Can't be much more straightforward than that. Don't get scammed. Don't allow yourself to be the victim to a scheme, no matter how good they make it sound. Go on the app, call into us. There are more than 100 buses in Nassau County that will be featuring these ads. Again, our anchor partners in the HOP network are coordinating this effort. They will be running advertisements in a half-dozen community papers throughout New York City and Long Island, and you will see announcements on the radio, on Facebook, targeting specific zip codes hardest hit by the foreclosure crisis. We're taking this message to the people who need it most, and I would urge you, there are so many people still left in New York who are eligible to have their loans modified, that are eligible to stay in their houses. There are neighbors of yours, there are friends of yours who are embarrassed to talk about it, but they qualify for programs, they just don't know it. Contact the HOP network. If you can't find us, contact your local officials. They'll put you in touch with us. The members of the Assembly and our colleagues in local government are great, great allies in this. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the programs, we have the resources. We need to get the word out to the people who need it the most. And with your help, and with the help of those here today, I promise you the most aggressive effort in the United States to ensure that everyone who's entitled to relief gets relief. With our homeowner protection program, we've made good on my promise back in 2012 that no one in New York would ever lose their home because they don't have access to a lawyer. Now we're taking it a step further. We don't want anyone to lose their home because they just lack the information to find that lawyer. They lack the information to avoid a scammer and get to someone who can help them really solve their problem. And we will continue to fight until the housing market all over the state of New York recovers and people have the right to humane, affordable housing for them and their families and their community, and an end to the blight of abandoned properties that afflicts so many towns and cities all over New York. And so now I'd like to bring up someone who is going to share her own story, just to remind you, and I appreciate her courage in doing this, how easy it is to fall for a mortgage scam in circumstances like this. Fortunately, her story has a happy ending, but please welcome with me Gail Fortunato from Lindbergh, Long Island.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, Attorney General Schneiderman, for inviting me here today to share my story. My name is Gail Fortunato. I'm a working mother of 2 young children, and I live here in Lynbrook, out here on Long Island. My husband and I bought our house in 2010, and we were very excited and happy to be able to raise our family in a community, a neighborhood that we love. Unfortunately, in 2013, we ran into some bad luck. A death of a family member, as well as our tenant losing his job and being unable to pay his rent, left us unable to pay our mortgage. Eventually, we fell behind on our mortgage and we found ourselves facing the possibility of foreclosure. Again, we were young, we didn't know what to do, we didn't know who to trust. A few weeks after getting our first foreclosure warning, our mailbox was flooded with mailers from companies and lawyers across the country saying that they would be able to help us avoid foreclosure and provide us with a loan modification. Eventually, we contacted a company out in California who said that they were an experienced company who have lots of lawyers to be able to help us with our foreclosure problems. All we had to do was send them $1,500, and then 2 weeks later, another $1,500. They requested paperwork, and each time I spoke to them, they requested more paperwork. Luckily, I'm an organized person, and I was able to send it to them within the hour of their request. Unfortunately, my mortgage company kept sending me letters of foreclosure. I finally spoke to my mortgage company and told them I was dealing with a law firm that was promising to help me, and they had never heard from them. They had no record of this. It was then that we realized that we were scammed. They took advantage of us. We were deceived, and they took thousands of dollars that we didn't really have in the first place. This is why we're in this situation. Luckily, we had resources and were able to find a local, credible lawyer who helped us out of our foreclosure problem. I'm here today to share my story because I know there are others out there who may not be so lucky and get help. But I want everybody to know that help is there, and the right help is free. You don't have to send money to anybody in order to get the information that you need. I would do anything to help families avoid the situation that I was in. They take advantage of people when they're at their lowest and most vulnerable. I want to thank the Attorney General for having me here today, and the other elected officials for making this issue a priority, and for educating and informing families who are struggling to stay in their homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and someone who truly is on the front lines every day dealing with this problem in an area where it's as acute as anywhere in the state, our great Nassau County Executive Ed Magana.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. It's certainly an honor to join with you. And unfortunately, Gail's story is not an unusual story. And that's why we appreciate the leadership and partnership of the Attorney General and all of our colleagues in government that have sought to attack and address the zombie home crisis. But in the neighborhoods, you see the blight of the home. With Gail, you see the victim. And that's why we're supportive of the Attorney General's position, his efforts to help educate our residents, to help the victims that are trying to stay in their homes, as well as help our residents understand there's a resource here to avoid becoming a victim. The zombie homes are throughout our island. Nearly every neighborhood has a zombie home. So we must continue to work together, the mortgage companies to maintain the homes, but most importantly, what the Attorney General seeks to do here today with this campaign is educate our residents, help keep people in their homes, and help avoid our residents becoming a victim of mortgage scammers. Thank you, Attorney General Schneiderman, and thank you all of my colleagues in government that have worked hard on every level of government in partnership to try to end the zombie home blight and crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. And now some folks who are disappointed they're not in Albany today, but happy to be here with us nonetheless. Starting off with my good friend and longtime colleague, Assemblyman Chuck Levine.
in times of great stress, and unfortunately many of our homeowners are facing great stress, and they have faced great stress since the Great Recession. But even those of us who might not otherwise fall prey or become victim, given this stress, can easily be victimized by the unscrupulous, by the vultures who circle around trying to take advantage of those who really, really find themselves weak and vulnerable and defenseless. To Attorney General Eric Schneiderman's credit, his great credit, the people's lawyer, our Attorney General, stands very strongly on behalf of and fights for those who really need champions with strength in government. Without the law and without someone enforcing the law, those of us who are in need, our friends and our neighbors, are weak and they are vulnerable. So this program that's being unrolled as we speak involves a greater public attention to what the state can do and local government can do to try to help our friends and our neighbors. And I have to say that the agscamhelp.com website is just great. It's user-friendly. It gives you a sense of which companies you've got to watch out for. It gives you an ability to be able to report scams, and it gives people general information helping restore our neighbors and our friends, our family members, and our fellow citizens to the strength that they deserve, and which I am delighted to stand here with our Attorney General, who fights every day as the people's lawyer to make sure that those strengths are protected and maintained. Eric, thank you, my friend.
And now another of our good colleagues concerned about the issue, Assemblyman David McDonough.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney General. I just want to say that for the past 6 or 7 years since the recession hit, then they had a double whammy when Hurricane Sandy came, or Superstorm Sandy. So we've got zombie homes in all of my area. I represent the South Shore that's very hard hit by Sandy. But this program, and if you hear Gail's story, this program is so necessary to help those people who unfortunately got misled by unscrupulous attorneys. And I urge everyone to speak to your neighbors. If you know somebody who has a problem, tell them about this. It's on the side of every bus here in Nassau County, and it's a very important program. And Attorney General, I salute you for being the lawyer for the people. And we represent the people also, and we've got to do everything we can to help you with this program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have to say, in addition to direct contacts with our HOP network and through our app, certainly the other way we get most of our referrals are through our colleagues in local government who have information, who refer people in other social service agencies. But really, our colleagues in local government have been very much a part of this whole process. And with that, let me introduce another one of them, Assemblyman Michael Monsanto.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Attorney General first for his efforts in joining in partnership with the other Attorney Generals throughout the United States to go after the banks, mortgage brokers and companies, and unscrupulous attorneys that took advantage of everyone in the mortgage foreclosure crisis. And then secondly, for his excellent work in putting together this HOP program. It's a very extensive program, it's very necessary, and it will go a long way to helping everyone, especially those here on Long Island. And for the substantial amount of funding the Attorney General has provided because of the money he's confiscated in settlements from these different companies, in helping county government, local governments, and putting the funds towards this substantial program. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank him for his efforts that he's done, his efforts for going forward, and we stand ready to assist him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Assemblyman Joseph Saladino.
Thank you. You know, it's so important to be working with our Attorney General, our county executive, and my colleagues in state and county government. in an effort to provide the resources and relief to so many homeowners across Long Island, this is but another tool to bring that relief, to bring that reform, to bring assistance to people who are truly hurting. I know this firsthand because my home was one of those destroyed in Superstorm Sandy. I've been working for months with people like the mayor of the village of Babylon to clean up the blight of zombie homes, to protect the communities. This is an important step. We've been working on many of these, and we will not rest until we clean up every one of those homes and make sure that there will be no more victims of the horrible situation that scammers bring in destroying the financial resources of Long Islanders. So I thank our Attorney General, I thank our County Executive and all my colleagues. Relief is on the way, but you've got to take advantage of great programs like the one we're announcing today.
Thank you very much. So as you can see, this is very much of a unified effort over the course of the last 2.5 years since we really got going. The program has grown very, very rapidly. When I first took office in January 2011, there were 345,000 New York families facing foreclosure, and half of them never had a chance to speak to a lawyer at any stage of the process. My commitment then and my commitment now is no one's going to lose their home because they can't get legal counseling or legal assistance. We have saved tens of thousands of homes, and now we're moving on to try and take care of the zombie properties, the abandoned properties that hurt whole neighborhoods and whole blocks, and to move ahead to rescue people from scammers that sometimes stand in between them and getting the good relief from our HOP partners that is available to them, just not advertised quite as flamboyantly and aggressively. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a part of a broader effort. We have done a lot of good for keeping people in their homes. There's a lot of good still to do, but with my colleagues in government here and with the activists supporting us, I'm confident this will be another major step forward. Thank you very much. And now, Matt will.
Nice bus.
We don't have a total number because it's a rolling figure. What we have are estimates from several organizations. I mentioned one estimate from the Committee on Civil Rights. Certainly we're dealing with tens of thousands of homes, but we do not have a precise number because it's moving so rapidly. I would bet that if you simply drive around and look at billboards and listen to the radio today, you will discover several new scammers. But this is one of the very important things about this program is it's also going to enable us to collect better data. It's so easy if you have an app just to check in. Is this company on the level? Are they really registered with HUD or not? And that information we can then use in building a case against them and tracking them. A lot of these are fly-by-night operations. Take your money, show up with a different name. So they're intentionally hard to track. This program we're implementing today will make that easier. But it's tens of thousands of scams.
Cooperation of Nice Bus.
Hmm?
The cooperation of Nice Bus.
Well, what is going to pass before the end of this year's session? Now we're getting into metaphysical issues. There is no reason the zombie legislation should not pass. All it says is under federal guarantees, Federal Housing Administration, government-sponsored entities, Freddie and Fannie, you have to maintain a property if you're a bank, if you started foreclosing, even if the people have left. All we're saying is that should be true for every house. That once it becomes clear the property's abandoned, no one's defending the bank in court, the bank should just start maintaining the property earlier and not wait for the paperwork all to finish for the foreclosure to be done. We have overwhelming support in both houses, a lot of support in the Assembly, good support in the Senate. I think there's some opposition that's really probably short-sighted by some folks in the banking community, but I'm very confident that we're going to get this done. It's not going to go away because unlike other states, the number of zombie loans, the number of zombie properties is actually going up in New York. So I think it'll either pass this week or in the special session, which I'm afraid to say may well follow in the next few months ahead.